If you're someone who keeps up with gaming and follows the buzz of massive flops in the industry recently, you'll likely already know where I'm going with this video. But in case you're not so in tune with everything, I'll get you caught up to speed. Games have been plagued by this continuous milking monetization system that has generally plagued the live service category, but it's leaked into other sections of gaming as well. For instance, a very popular one recently that sees a lot of success with single player games is early access, in which you have to pay extra to get access to the game on its correct release date rather than its official one, right? 3 days, even up to 5 days early access. While that is definitely more on the scummy side and the most egregious of them, at least to me, there are other money milking models, the 3 M's as I coined them, that are less noticeable but no less worth mentioning. I'm going to mention the most recent AAA quotation on that AAA live service games that have failed and implemented at least one of these systems. I'm going to list. A is a time gated unlock for upgrade items, character unlocks, and other path of progressions. B, seasonal battle pass or content systems that can be completely bypassed with instant acquisition if you just spend real world money. You'll know which game I'm literally talking about. And last but not least, C requires a time sink so large to fully experience the game's content as a free to play player that you should be diagnosed with Stockholm Syndrome if you voluntarily participate in it. These games are Suicide Squad's Kill the Justice League, Skull and Bones, Concord, Nightingale, Foam Stars, and last but definitely not least, The First Descendant. Now, these games are not at their core like horrible games. They're not very good games, but I've seen and played some really, really bad games before. And these are by no means dumpster fire games from a mechanical point of view. It's all about the additions, like I've mentioned before, that really hold them back. Also, I find it amazing that executives from these companies are surprised when said games perform horribly. It's almost like they forget we think hard about how we spend our hard earned money. They think we should just be tolerant to it all. I mean, this is the TikTok day and age we're talking about, right? Word spreads around fast. You can no longer just get away with, you make a really good product. Generally, you make a really good product and then you slap on some horrible monetization systems on top of it, and then just hope that, the whales of the game and other players who are more casual still engage with that, and then we're the vocal minority. It's not like that anymore, right? We're in the TikTok age. Games are getting exposed for these sorts of systems literally, like, it feels like it's on a week to week basis, right? And you see it all over Twitter and you see it everywhere on social media. You can't escape it anymore. So, them hoping that these games will still be smash hits with how they monetize the games is just frankly out of touch. Now, how does all this tie into Payday 3? Well, if you're like me and instantly gag at the mention of microtransactions, then you'll probably like the direction that Payday 3 has trended over the last 6 months or so. They've massively decreased the base price of the DLC content from that god awful $17.99, plus tax, about $20, half the price of the game when it dropped. And they reduced it to $11.99 for Syntax Era and the following respective DLCs: Boys in Blue, Houston Breakout, and Fear and Greed. Also, and the whole reason I'm making this video, really, currently there is no in-game store, which for a live service game, that sounds almost like satire, but it's actually true. They're very consumer friendly, like, approach, I guess, to this is something that's rarely talked about. I don't really see this being talked about, at least in the Payday community. I'm not sure, outside of that, but I'm mainly in the Payday community, and it's something that's rarely talked about, or at least their ability to read what we want and take the correct action to please players is something that literally never happens in the games industry. These companies stick to their guns, for better or worse, oftentimes for worse, as you can see by the games I mentioned. But Starbreeze seems to be doing it right. or at least better than most in this ecosystem, I guess if that's what you want to call it. I'm not sure the departure of former CEO, what's his name? Tobias something. I can't remember his last name right now. I'll put it on the screen. Tobias something. I'm not even going to attempt to, guess what ramifications that had like on their business model. But if that was a determining factor in what their business model has looked like since the start of 2024, it's been a great shift. But whatever it is, I would say just keep doing that. There was never a worse time to expand on the game's monetization systems than when they're trying to revitalize it. I get that it'll likely be integrated at some point because it just helps the future support of the game and makes the books look good for the company. But there are very few things I would say in this world that's more frightening than when gamers feel like they've been, I guess, maybe misled or betrayed in some way. Because we all have this expectation of, even if they do at some point, or when they do at a store, it'll be consumer friendly, right? That's their whole like approach to, I guess, getting back in the good graces of players. But please, Starbreeze, I'm begging you, don't do a rug pull. Whatever you do, do not do a don't let the same pitfalls that have plagued big hitters, air quotes, big hitters, be what affects the long-term success of Payday 3. I believe in this team. Personally, I believe in this team, and I'm really looking forward to whatever they're cooking for year two. But I feel like this is a super important topic to remember, as it's not something to be swept under the rug and then pulled out whenever it's convenient. Gamers no longer just forget. Gamers no longer go for that kind of thing, and you will be sorely disappointed if you even try. I hope they continue to do themselves and sort of have a like a No Man's Sky comeback, like of the co-op scene. And I have faith in the new leadership that has taken place in the game, but you can never be too sure anymore. And I thought I'd at least put my 2 cents out there on some of the things they're doing right and the things they should continue in the future.
Shell pushing up on us.
Yeah, baby. Money in the birds.